家。很好，我名叫钟诗婷，我是钟诗婷博士。很抱歉，我等下会用英文讲哈，所以你们要听耳机。So I'm going to start speaking in English now. I am Malaysian-born, British Chinese, living in Scotland. Uncomplicated, very diverse. I speak 5 languages. My main paternal grandparents came from Guangdong province. This is my home. And this is the first time I've ever been to Shenzhen. This is my 10 days. In 2005, I arrived in Shanghai. The first time I arrived in China, I studied designers, Western and Chinese designers, working together, lost in translation, and I studied design thinking. How do you talk about design? How do you talk about ideas? How do you conceptualize? That is a year where this F518 started. This is interesting because of all the calls that I've been to China many times, twice or 3 times a year, I have never been called to Shenzhen, and this time I'm here. And I sat at the V&A Museum yesterday, looking out at the sea, and suddenly this emotion just came to me. I was like, wow, if I had come about 10 years ago to Shenzhen, I wouldn't have liked it, maybe. It was at that time, we were saying, the factories of the world, in transition period to design. But now it's a place for intelligence, smart, anything smart, and also the kind of cultural melting pot, because everyone's telling me about food, Hakka food, Chaoshang food. They don't tell me about Guangdong food. I said, I want to have Guangdong food. No, they know about Chaoshang food and Hakka food, which other part of China doesn't know. So I think Shenzhen brought to China a cultural melting pot that is so new and so fluid, and people work in some very creative way that I just kind of observed within the last 10 days. I'm really amused by it, so amused by it. So I'll start with this slide. I want to talk about design activism. I'm a design activist, but I'm also an academic as well as a poet. I started as a computing student, and then I did my PhD in design. This is a flock of starling. A bunch of birds know how to fly together. Do birds think? Can birds think? Can they think? So I want to address intelligence from these pictures because this is collective intelligence. We have collective intelligence. We're all connected in some way. Whether or not you're intelligent, you think you're intelligent or not, you are intelligent. If you're connected, you're even more intelligent. If you can fly together, that's kind of the center point of my research and my design at the moment. Can we get next? So this work is underlined by a basic idea that everybody designs, by Ezio Manzini. Everybody is a designer. You design your everyday when you wake up every day. Today I want to go to here, I want to go to there, I want to do this, I want to achieve that goal, and I have the structure about how I want to go about it. You design your work. So, but if we come together and then we can actually visualize that design space together, and we can bring something even better for the society, because our needs is addressed and we are actually the actors of this design space. So next. Next, please. So I created tools that is so low fidelity, so low that everyone can do it. Mothers, children, whatever. This is neural network actually. It comes from my time when I was a computing student. I wanted to connect people. Why do we do brainstorming in 3 dimensions? We call this sticky notes in 2 dimensions. Why don't we do it 3-dimensionally? Why don't we do it with stories? So every thread that they put in is some stories of some sort. It's about making story of the future and putting the dreams out, collective dreams out, and then be able to see others' dreams as well and connect it. This is done in self-organizing system. I studied autopoietic system. Obviously, I'm in a school in informatics, we're looking at data. So I'm looking at data. How can that be data-driven design such that our intelligence system has such a holistic system that we can actually work on in a very lo-fi method? Because this method I can bring to villages. Everyone knows how to do it. And children loves it. Even people with learning difficulties. Next, please. So, actually the work like this brought me to many places. I've done about 50 over workshops, from two-dimensional sticky notes to this. This method doesn't come from me, it comes from the communities I work with. So I like to highlight a few. Two sides of the things, application that I often work on. One is heritage service design. Whether it's in the village or museum design, I don't know why it keeps falling to me, I don't understand it. I just follow it. And the other one is healthcare design, which you see quite a lot on the way in here. So the heritage service design, one of the, as I said just now in my answer, were about the pivotal moment. I was called to run a workshop with villagers in Inner Mongolia, one small village where Mulan came from, Mulan came from. So off I went with, and I brought an Italian professor with me from Milan Polytech and a PhD doctorate who just graduated from TU Delft, and I was a fellow in TU Delft. So we went into the village not knowing what to do, and with the non-profit organization who the chief was the mayor of Chaoyang district in Beijing. So we went in and we dig trench trying to plant goji berry with them and trying to actually redesign those cave habitats so that it becomes some sort of ecotourism so people can go back to live in the village. That village only have 100 inhabitants now. I mean, I don't know if it's 200 now because that's 3 years ago. The youngest is 64 years old. 64 years old, the youngest. You listen? Yes. And that's roughly 300 historical villages disappear from China every single day. I'm not sure whether it's right, I think it's right. When these villages disappear, our heritage, I came to China to look at my roots because I was born third generation as an overseas Chinese. I came here to look at my cultural root, understand my story, my ancestors went through. That's why when I sat in front of this V&A, this water, I'm thinking, oh, 3 generations ago, my grandparents sailed through here to Nanyang. And my life changed, right? So this heritage is not just about the hardware, it's about the practices, the craft practices of how to make this cave habitat disappear after the generation disappear. It's a lot of intelligence in these sort of craft practices. I'm really kind of soft about, I have soft heart about craft because my parents are artisans. So next, so I keep falling into working on this. Can I have next slide, please? And during these 5 days, we found that we can't use A4 papers, we cannot use sticky notes. We have to find tools that they are familiar with. So these are the tools that they actually created themselves. This youngest elderly in the village, she just squat down and started to use some stick and started to depict, if you redesign your house, how would you like to do it? He said, can you do it? We asked, can you do it in the bird's eye view and the plan? Can you make a plan? Every single one come with the front view. Nobody do the bird's eye views. If we have if as a designer, if I would brought the design tools there as an A4 paper architect plan, that's never going to work. So we say, okay, give up. Let them do it. So we have this front view about, I want to use this, I want to do that. Also we learn so much from being in a community. We learn so much by interacting with them that actually they don't actually want a bigger house. They say 18 square meters is good enough. 1 room for my children when they come back, and 1 room for me. And exactly the same structure as it is before. And you realize that sometimes when you go to a village and trying to redesign things for them, it's actually a wrong idea of thinking of that. You should go in and redesign with them. And actually, if I can push it further on, it's holding the space for them to design. Holding that space, giving them tools, and let them do it. And how? This is very difficult. Okay, next slide, please. So we have some great time. We have to kind of do it in the outdoor. It's quite fun, actually. And next slide, please. So we started work with something like I call it cooperation and making wishes. They love it very much. We put it in the village and we leave it there. Some of them are illiterate, so they can't really write, so they draw. So we asked, how was the village 10 years ago? And how was your village? How would you like your village in 10 years' time? Very simple question, no questionnaire, no saying like, what would you like and how, the sort of things. No question about that. It's about pro. And next slide. So these are the methods I developed. It's very simple. Bamboos. I started to use bamboos and structures. And this is I worked with a community with learning difficulties in China. I just pick up some project and just do it when at their school. And it was very, very stressed. I mean, I have a lot of pressure about this, but can someone with learning difficulties use my methods? It works because in this table, there's one person with learning difficulties alongside the carer and a public person who has never confronted, who has never worked with someone or never seen someone with learning difficulty, and the staff of the service center. What we are doing is actually redesign the service of the service center that actually serve them. So we are giving out cooperation space. So what you see the structure here is a cognitive structure that is so basic and intuitive that they could do it themselves. It's colorful, it's structural, it's modular, constructivist learning, it's situational learning, whatever it is that goes in there. That is so easy for them to take, and they are really happy. Okay, this is only 2 hours to make that. Okay, next. And not only that, when I was in Hong Kong Social Innovation, I think 2014, this is an installation there during the time with this umbrella movement. And it was about collective wish about how do you want Hong Kong to be a better city. At one moment that there was a visually impaired teenager actually came in and she started to touch this complex system. I thought it's actually a complex system. And my tears started to come down. I was like, okay, this is a time when you think, actually, the system like this can be touched. It's tactile. When you can touch something, okay, maybe in future I could print those in Braille, those tags in Braille, and she can touch everything. We also put bells around the system so that she can hear, so that you can hear of the scale of the things. So there are plenty of ways of working on how to make people co-design. This is one of it that I've been working on for the last 4 years, and it's coming to the end now. Okay, next. So not only that, I'm working with politicians as well in China, in Scotland. So I have the privilege of, in my entire life I've never voted, but then I have the privilege of voting 2 votes that is most important, which is one is Scottish referendum, will Scotland leave UK, and next is will UK leave Europe. 2 votes. We actually don't know what to vote. It was very difficult. And especially 16 years old can vote about the future. So we have this, I have to run this workshop with City Council in Edinburgh to bring this picture, visualize, if you vote yes, what would be your future? If you vote no, what would be your future? Actually, we don't know either. So how do we can visualize that? These are the things. I'm a hamster in a wheel working hard for not moving forward. Some people say that. And these are the things that actually be calling me, I'm doing this as a sideline because I have my research going as well. Okay, and next slide please. And this is closer. This is actually in Guangdong, in this Diaolou Baoxiu, Guangdong Changping, Diaolou Baoxiu. So I was there running workshop to redesign, to design a service for tourists like me who come back to see the ancestry home. So a building is a building. It doesn't tell story, okay? You go around this village, if you don't tell story, you go home after 10 minutes. You need to create services, create path, something interesting path going around and then giving stories, also interact with story. Heritage design is about looking at what is yesterday, during today, and making your future interpretation, possibility by interpreting today. So this is really interesting part of it because I brought 2 students with me from Milan Polytech to do the service design, and they are from the spatial design. And we run through all those possibilities and we thought, okay, let's do the bicycle service. They can start cycling around because it's so beautiful, it's all paddy field. And this paddy field will disappear in maybe 10 years' time when the elderly leave and not tending the paddy field anymore. So this is very privileged that you will go to villages to see the beauty. So we leave that in the ancestry hall. This is Chitang, 里面的Chitang. During the workshops, there's a lot of emotional moment that we have because we are sharing story, we're sharing about how do you want to kind of bring stories to people. So it's all about storytelling. Thank you for all the speakers earlier talking about stories. Okay, so we have next slide. And not just in heritage, I also do a lot in the healthcare design. This is one of the, how do elderly people access healthcare, the mobility, the smart mobility project with Coventry City Council. And then we have elderly, the policymaker, we have the people from the health and hospitals, and coming together, looking at the data system and how to integrate them. These are all very interesting projects, and I'm actually learning more than actually giving up. All I did was holding the space and they make it happen. That's all I did. So this is service mapping. They are mapping out the service journey. The red color says the unhappiness, unpleasant journey they're going to hospital. The green one is like, well, I really like this. And blue one is ideal. So they're mapping it out in a tactile way instead of actually writing it or talk about it. Because when you talk about things, you not capture it, it's all going to go. Okay? Okay, next. And then we all, next slide. And we all put that together into a 3-dimensional settings like this. And because the workshop runs for 2 days, 4 sessions with different people, everyone can come in and start to look at this data structure. I call it this data structure. And they can actually continue and accumulate on it. Okay, next. So why design? Why designer go into village to do regeneration? Why are we doing this? Why not? It should be a social workers or someone who do that. Why designer do that? A design is someone who can prototype, who can visualize, who can talk about stories about things that's possible for future. That's what we do as designers. We put in place what is possible. Look at the things that are outside in this exhibition hall. It's all about possible future. And this is our future value, and then that's why designer is very important. Whatever you design, you have to think about the future of it. Just like the smog in the city, it was designed by its designer too, unfortunately. Okay, next. So then why design activism? Okay, when I say design activist, I don't mean that I have this podium going, this rally going around, I want this, I want that, I want this. No, we don't do that. We do it by constructing something valuable, constructing something very good with the community and make things happen. We do actions. Design activism is very, very interesting in that way. So for us, it's about change in an influential way. The change can be even just kind of embodied in one small little object. That object change your lifestyle, change your behavior, change your ecosystems about how you're living. Just one product can do that. That's quite interesting, right? So design is very powerful. Next. So but then when we do design, if we don't close up in a design studio, we actually can't really design that meaningful project. We can go into community and see for ourselves and co-design with them. So my field of research is in co-design, looking at how to co-design with people in general. And then looking at design as services, not just products. Products is objects that we can kind of objects that is actually embody certain services for not just human being, community in a sense, not just actually human being, actually it could be also animals as well, okay? And next. So if you look at that sense, you think about the macro view about social innovation, because I like to put that into the slides. Designers start looking at prompts, proposal, in prototypes, and you try to sustain. I was in design school in Glasgow School of Art, Royal College of Art, and now I'm in the School of Mathematics. School of Mathematics start from the 6 and 5, and then at the end, in the middle of it, we have this big gap. We are in the era of data. We are in the era of digital network. If designer can't know about data and structures and all this intelligence behind the system, automation, then we have trouble. So I would say that designer should actually start to cross and scaling it up and find ways to go into that. But this is not just a designer fault, this is actually the nature of things. Here we have human, here we have machine. Human is powered by stories. We talk about stories all the time. We put things in the narrative reasoning. It's nature. We talk about things in narratives. In machine, we are logical. We are 1, 0, 1, 0, A equal B, B equal C. I'm mathematically gifted, so I know about those. But when I get to here, and here, these are two different ontologies. Two different ontologies. You can't cross that unless you have something to translate that. This is the higher level of my research, looking at how to translate that. So you can think about this as open data and big data. And this is my workshops in the community. In the community, I harvest data that is in the form of stories. And here is big data and open data. Big data is big. It's useless now because you actually nobody knows what to do with the big data. We have a whole industry over big data. It's not meaningful. We need to create meaning by actually understanding what community needs from running workshops, co-creation, and all sort of things, finding out and then map it and use it to tease out the best possibility from big data and open data and make it into something that is usable, intelligent system. Okay, next. So we are all the bees and the trees. The trees are the big institution with power and money. The bees are us. Who is more important, bees or trees? Bees, stand up. Trees, bees. Because bees going around pollinate the trees, and if they're without bees, we don't have trees. So think about that way. You are actually really important as a citizen of China, a citizen of the universe. If you can think about how you can change your everyday single behavior that is mapping and connecting to the big picture, then we are going somewhere as a collective, and then we'll fly together. Okay? Next. So to do this, I'm just going to come up to the end. Right? We have to think beyond interfaces and interactions. A lot of product design nowadays are to do with small objects, maybe like this. Okay? Right? You think about the surface, the forms and function. This is good. It's beauty. But these things can be even better to think about. Go back to the other slide. Back. Quite. Okay, so we have to think about intelligence. Are your products really intelligent or enable intelligence? What kind of intelligence? Is it a machine intelligence or is it a human-machine intelligence? Can you do that? Even though a small thing is put into a sub ecosystem, it changes things. Okay? So next. So I think for Shenzhen, I have heard many stories about Shenzhen being that you can go around shopping in a car, in a factory for parts. You go around parts, and then at the end you have a design, right? So this is the creativity of Shenzhen, the Shenzhen type of creativity. You find parts, and you will have design at the end. That is a transferable skill. It's a transferable skill for this sort of a future, the data innovation, and you put together data, product, and service, you mold it into something else. That I think Shenzhen can do. Okay, next. So we need to kind of go for the 天人合一的集体智能 towards collective intelligence in ambient and body. I wouldn't want to kind of show the design here because it's all out there. You can go and have a look. Okay. The show that curated in the exhibition that I curated with Treasure Hines, which is in here, is about thinking about from current products, wearable products, towards smart textile, and also the visualization to data-driven design. So you can have a look at the stories. I mean, we took only 2 months to put that together, so there's some flaws, but that's okay. Okay, next. So we need to go design touchpoint. Those are the design touchpoint that I meant. So the small products actually makes a lot of difference. Okay, an entry in which the communities can interact with an innovation, whether it be a story, a poster symbol, and physical digital app, okay, soundscape, or any forms of interpretive experience, to compare our prior perception of our own existence. We always ask about why we're here, okay? And hopefully your design could actually transform our life experiences through that. Okay, next. So I have a challenge. This is my current challenge. Designing for, it's a dimensional self-care challenge. This is my current project. How do we take care of this? Because I'm thinking in 20 years' time, I don't have children. Nobody's going to look after me. So if I have dementia, how would I want? I don't want to be in the homes. I want to be self-care at home. Then I would need wearables. I would need the ambient technologies, sensors, and also. But I don't want to have a cold type of thing. I like to be knit myself the intelligent garments that I can wear. And then I can also share that knowledge with others. So next. The next slide and the next slide. So you can see this at the exhibition there by Martin from TU Eindhoven. About how he actually put in a lot of effort into smart textile service. That make people feel good and well-being. Okay, next. This is one example, and this is some of the integrative self-care too. So these are some of the examples. And next. So the exhibition's up there, and next. I think we'll end. So I'd like to end it with this picture again. Can we fly together? Thank you very much.